Have you done a podcast before?
No, this is actually my first one. I am super excited. Thank you well, I invited myself, really. Let's just make that clear.
Yes, as usual.
As usual. But, thank you for allowing me to be part of it, because you could have easily said no. Not that you were going to, but, you could have.
I thought about it, I was like, emoji.
No, I even sent you a picture. I was like,
I know.
a picture of yourself. That's what I want. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So let's start with you introducing yourself. So the fact that I know you, makes this obviously more comfortable. I know your story, but for the listeners of the Active Variable podcast, I just wanted to bring you on into the podcast, and you are involved in the healthcare industry, working with kids, and so I think it's a very important profession that doesn't get that much attention, and so I think you have a lot of knowledge, and so yeah, introduce yourself. Tell us something about you, something interesting that not many people know.
Awesome. My name is Katherine Rivas. For those of you who don't know me, I am a program coordinator, a case supervisor. I work with children and families with developmental disabilities. So what my job entails is it's very similar to case management. So I have a caseload, right? I'm overseeing my clients. I'm writing reports based on progress. I'm assessing them. I am also managing the behavior instructors who work directly one-on-one with the client. So I am the person they report to if the client is making progress, if the data, if there's no trend, if the trend is descending, right, which is things that we never want to see. So that's pretty much like my title in the sense of what I do. There's a lot more in that in my profession. However, that's probably my main focus. So yeah, it's been a little difficult with, the pandemic, just because we have to move everything to telehealth. And that's where, our essential healthcare worker comes into play, because we are working with children who have these deficits, and they have needs to be met. And we can't, right, put a stop in it because there's a pandemic. Like, these children need assistance. They need, a plan when it comes to behaviors. So yeah, that's a little bit of my background in that sense. Something interesting about me, let's see, I'm a pretty interesting person. So let's see, for those of you who don't know, right, I love to travel. That's like one of the things that really sticks out to me, and that's how I take care of myself. There's various reasons why I do it. I think, people just see like the social media aspect of it, like the pictures and like, oh, she's here, she's there. Where are you going next? But it comes with a purpose. When we plan these trips, and I say we because it's with my sisters and my cousins. So shout out to the Florets. I wouldn't be able to, do it without them. And if I didn't shout them out, they'd probably be upset. So shout out to them. These are my rock. They're my rock, my go-to. So when we plan these trips, we do it based on the culture. Like, we love traveling. We love meeting new people. We always get messages. So if we go somewhere where someone already has been, like, check out this like restaurant, they have like the best steak, like check out this resort, which is wonderful. So I appreciate that. But what we really look for, and I think this is interesting, because not a lot of people do this, what we really look for is the authenticity, the culture. We want to hear more like, hey, there's this lady in that corner that has like the best empanadas, like, you're supporting her. She has, like, that's what we want. When we travel, that's what we look for. We want to get lost in those small little streets and buy like the cheap pastries, but that tastes like home, right? Not like the pastries that they're going to make at that 4-star restaurant. We can do that here.
Yeah.
We have access to all of that. So yeah, I think that's something interesting that maybe not a lot of people know, just because we always get those messages about checking out like the best food, where it's like, okay, thank you, but probably not going to go there. Or appreciate the recommendation. So yeah, I think that's something interesting about myself.
Yeah, for sure. First with your work, I think that it's definitely essential in the time that we're living in right now with COVID, because these kids do need a lot of help, right? And the parents are there, but you're also working with the parents, which is another challenge in itself. But I know we've had, a lot of conversations about, just the little changes that you guys are working on and how that impacts their life in the long term, right? And then being able to just communicate better with the things that they want. So it's definitely essential, and telehealth does make it a little bit harder because it's such a intimate job. Like, you want to be teaching them behaviors that involves, physically how they're moving and their gestures and things like that. So um, I think from a personal training, from an athletic training perspective, with my point of view, it's similarly, challenging trying to do exercises through Zoom when, I see a client's form and it's bad. Usually I'm touching, like, bring your shoulders back, I'm pressing. I want you to feel the fatigue of the muscle, here, trying to give them feedback in that tactical way. So doing it through Zoom is just like, hey, I'm seeing you, your knees going in, but they're actually doing it correctly, but it's just the angle that they're doing it in that the camera can't show you that, right? It's not 3D. So it's definitely a challenge. So I'm sure that, that hasn't been easy for you guys, but still you guys are working and you guys are still making a difference. So that's awesome that, you guys are still part of the workforce right now when a lot of people are not working. With in regard to you traveling, I think that's awesome too, because obviously right now it's a little bit harder to travel, but it's still such a great way to just get out of your comfort zone and like go out and explore and like get different ideas and reset. And then that way, when you come back to work, you feel a little bit more motivated, more inspired to just continue to do the hard work, right? To put in the time and effort into something that's important for you. But then having that time to relax is definitely important. And traveling, it's great. You can never go wrong with that. And since you mentioned the florets, I do want to plug that I mentioned to you, I want to create a podcast for you guys. I think the florets, you guys would just pop, because you guys have a lot of stories on traveling and partying and all the other stuff that you guys do. You guys are all, hardworking as well. So that's the reason why you guys are able to do what you do outside of work and travel, because of, the things that you do with work. So so once you guys are ready for that podcast, let me know, and Brown Lab Media's got you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I have a brown round table, so it'll be like the brown table talk, and we're all brown. So
exactly.
Like a double meaning.
That's right.
Yeah, no, I think they would love it. They're gonna definitely be in it for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. So I want to know, how did you get interested in your job, in getting into the health field? Because I know you weren't doing that before, and it's a big difference what you're doing now compared to what you were doing before. So I'm just curious about what got you interested in pursuing that.
Yeah, definitely. So I've always, I love, I'm a social person. I'm a social being. I love, interacting. And what I was doing before, I was at a job for 8 years. I worked at Trader Joe's, this wonderful place. I have nothing but good things to say. I definitely feel like I outgrew it and I wanted to do something different. And that's when I started taking the path towards, working with children. So initially that's how it started. I was like, okay, I want, something different. I've always wanted to work with kids. So I got a job as a cooking teacher. So that kind of, started wetting my feet. And, after being there for a year, I was like, okay, like, this is great. I love what I do, but now I want to work with children who need my help, right? Because working with children as an extracurricular activity, right, as a cooking teacher, it was an added thing for them. Like it was great. They were paying for it. Well, their parents were. So I was like, okay, that's great. That's fantastic. But how about like children who don't have these opportunities and who still need my help? And, you know, that's why I went into the ABA field, which is applied behavior analysis, which is what I do. And, you know, I'm very lucky to be in this company where, you know, it's not just children targeted with autism. It's just, we call it 360 behavioral health because we're working with children with different developmental disabilities. So it's expanded through the time that I've been there. So I've been able to, you know, find out about different disabilities that I never even heard of, never even knew about. And I'm learning and I'm able to implement these things that I'm learning and help, you know, the children that I'm working with. So yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I got to where I'm at now. And you know, it's when I visit these families, I think a lot about, you know, the way that I was raised. And it's actually a very beautiful thing to see on my end, right? Because I've overcome so much, I've come so far. And I feel like I can make that difference for these children, right? That probably don't know what they're capable of, or they feel like they might not make it, right? Because I work with various ages, with kids with various ages. So it's not just little like 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds, like I also work with adolescents and young adults. So being able to be an advocate for them, teach them skills and, you know, push them forward so that they can, you know, be who they want to be. Because I think that's really what has painted my path towards this field. And that's why I truly enjoy it.
Yeah, that's awesome that you found the reward of that, right? Because I think that that's the most important thing, that we find work that is that we feel like we're making a difference in the world, right? And I'm sure, you know, with Trader Joe's, you got some of that, but it's not the same kind of work that you are like, you can see the immediate impact that your teaching has on these kids and adolescents that you're working with. And I think that that's one of the biggest difference that also drove me into the health field, because I also started working at a restaurant when I was younger. And once I found the gym, and then I started to see the different fields that were part of the gym and the health and fitness world, like personal training, athletic training, physical therapy, and even like a registered dietitian, things like that. And with you, like a, you know, behavior, like that's such a huge component of health that doesn't get enough attention, you know. And I said that earlier, but I think that at the root of what makes a difference in your health is your behavior, right? With exercise, being able to be disciplined and committed to wake up early and work out before you go to work, or after your 8-hour shift, you know, at 5-6 p.m. still go to the gym and work out. Like most people struggle with that, right? And so it's a behavior that you have to be able to start somewhere and then little by little progress and be okay with putting that on your schedule and committing to showing up and putting in the work, and knowing that, you know, you're going to be even more exhausted after doing that. But in the long run, it's better for you. You're going to be healthier. You're going to feel better looking at yourself and just going about your day, and mentally, right? Just knowing that you did something productive for yourself. So I think that's rewarding, and that, and I think it's cool that you found that in what you're doing right now, in the work that you're doing. But I think that's a good transition to the next question that I wanted to know. What's one lesson that you've learned from working with your patients, from all the things that you've been able to teach? What's something that they've been able to teach you?
Wow, that's a great question. There's so many, right? But I think, you know, I've learned so much, and not so much from the kids. The kids, I mean, they're fantastic. They all have their own personality, and I learn something from them every day. But I think from just my job in general, I think it would be working with the parents, right? Like I can kind of sort of shape, you know, a child's behavior, and, you know, they're still small, so I can implement things. And, you know, it's kind of awful to say, but it's like manipulation, right? Because you're trying to kind of, get them to do what you want. You want to make sure that your data is accurate as well. So if it's working, that means that whatever you implemented, it's essentially working, which is great, right? However, with parents, there are adults. They already have their mindset. They're already a parent. They already know what they're looking for. They want their child to just, learn a skill. They don't know the background behind it. So I think, the biggest lesson learned there, it's really hard to work with adults. I think it's a lot more challenging. And I think it's something that I am now opening myself up to more. I kind of closed myself for a bit and was like, no, I think working with children is my thing. But I'm a woman who loves challenges. So with, this comes like a new set of skills that I'm like, oh, wait, okay. So I need to convince the parent that my plan is going to work, right? Like this is what, because of this and this and this. Mm-hmm. Some parents would be like, no, like, I don't think so, and little by little, like with my talks and my data and, I have to bring, the data, like that's what we do, and to present it to parents. So I think for me, a lesson learned is, or that I'm continuously learning, right? It's like now I want to work more with parents, because I think this is where the winning prize is. Like if I can convince an adult to do something, it's like essentially like, okay, like that's pretty cool. So I think that's what I'm starting to lean towards now, like a new challenge, because it's very difficult working with people in general, right? You work with people, it's not easy to shape a behavior.
Yeah. And so from my experience with personal training, it's difficult to get people to buy into your experience, your skills, right? Kind of like what you're talking about, where if I get a new client and their goal is to lose weight, well, I have a lot of experience working with people that have lost weight. And so I can tell them the stories, I can share with them the data, right? What kind of food to eat, how many meals a day, what kind of exercise you should be doing, what kind of cardio, things like that, right? And I'm guiding them. I'm there physically one-on-one, working with them and sharing, just different recipes and different things. And so and that's, for me, that's the easy part, being able to share all of this, because this is what I do all day, right? I talk about these things all day. I study this. So this is easy for me, but the buy-in part is the hard part. How can I convince them? How can I manipulate, in a sense, right? Like what you said, to change their behavior, because they're grown people, right? They're grown ass people that they have their own routines and they don't want to change. And that's why they're with me. That's why they're paying me. But even if they're paying me, they still have a lot of things mentally that block them from achieving their goals, right? And I think the exercise part is the easiest part, because especially when I'm there with them, I'm pushing them. I'm like, you got 10 more, we're not done until you got 10 more, right? So that's easy for them to just be like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But then after that, I only see them 1, 2, 3 times a week. So that's, let's say, 3 hours a week. And then after that, they're on their own again. And when they're on their own again, they go back to their normal routine. And I think that's challenging, right? I'm sure you get some of that as well through your work.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you said, you're able to implement, what because it's like this is something that you're very savvy with. But, there's like a slight difference, like you're a personal trainer, you show up and like, you look great, you're your own model, you're advocating, you're like, you're going to look like me, like this is what we're trying to get at. With me, it's a little bit different because, I don't have kids. And I think that's when it gets a little bit difficult for me to be able to be empathetic with a parent, right? I can be empathetic when I could be sympathetic, right? I can tell them like, oh, I feel, like I understand this and this, like it must be hard. My mom, was a single parent, etc. But I can't be like, oh, well, I've been through that because, I'm not a parent. Yeah. So I always, and definitely, professionalism is always key, so we try to like flow away from, asking personal questions. Like I don't need them knowing my personal life because, I've had a parent tell me, well, when you're a mom, you will understand. And then what did I say then? I was like, I mean, I was just like, yeah, you're right. I think, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to be as a mom, So that's where it gets a little bit complicated, right? Because, I'm not a parent. So how do I shape a parent's behavior into believing everything that I'm saying, or, or telling them, follow through, don't give him that cookie, even if he cries and tantrums and embarrasses you at the store, like you have to follow through or else he's going to do it again, because we're derived from reinforcement. You give him the cookie, he's going to do it again. He's going to cry harder. But, it's like, well, you're not the one that's like dealing with the embarrassment and people staring at you. It's crazy to hear this, Edwin, but, most parents, their worry is always what people are going to think.
Yeah.
It's always that. I mean, of course they care about their child and they want them to progress, but most of the time, they always say this all the time. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, people look at me. Some parents have fought other parents for looking. Like, it's very crazy. And that's a whole new topic, right? But
no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. So so with that, I thought about a story. So, and to your point of like, not the relationship between you not having a kid and trying to work with a parent that has a kid, and just like that barrier of like you not having that same experience, right? For me, the similarity that I can mention would be I'm fit just because of my genes. Generally, I wasn't meant to be a very, let's say, an obese person. I can eat a lot of food and I'll gain a little bit of weight, but I'm not going to get fat.
Lucky ass.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my first curse word. I'm upset right now.
But it's true, right? Like, we all have different genetics, and both my parents gave me the genetics to not get to that point. So it's easier for me to stay fit, to stay, in good shape. And so from that perspective, if I work with somebody that is obese, I've never been obese, so I can't really feel what they're feeling. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. So
see where you're going.
But I have worked with people that are obese, and I've seen them lose weight, and I've worked with them. And so from that perspective, it's just like, yes, I haven't been in that body, but I've seen that body change. Right. And I've helped that body change. And just like you, right, you've seen parents and you work with them and they bought into what you have to teach, and you've seen results. So you kind of have that same perspective as well. Like, yeah, I don't have kids, but I've seen kids change and I've seen parents change. So there's a lot of similarities in that. But a story that I was thinking, back to the point where you're talking about like, what are people going to think? So I guess 2 points of views. The first one from a client. So, I got a client, he's trying to lose weight. Let's say she's trying to lose weight. And they initially had that motivation because they've been overweight for a long time, and it's gotten to a point where they've tried to do things on their own, and they finally decided they can't do it on their own. They need some help. That's where I come in, right? And then through conversation, through the first sessions, we start to get to know each other, and I know I try and figure out the reason why, like, now is the time, why they chose now, not a month ago. And one of those reasons was they went on a date, right? And the other person was like fit, in shape, and so that kind of motivated them to want to also be fit and in shape. Mm-hmm. And so there was that like switch that pushed them to just be like, okay, right now is the time. I want to get some help. Let me get started. And it was all good for the first month, right? Like, they were showing up on time. They were following the guidelines for food. They were doing their own cardio when I wasn't with them. Everything was going well. But then after a month, it just, the consistency, the showing up on time, the food, like frequency of eating, the type of food they were eating changed. It kind of went out of control and back to what they were doing before they saw me. And so then I had to just try and figure out what's going on, right? And when I was younger, I would be like, what am I doing wrong? But as I've gotten older, it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, okay, it's nothing that I'm doing. What are they doing? What's going on with them? So then I try to dig in deeper. And then what I get out of those conversations is just like, oh, the other person that I was starting to date, we're not talking anymore. So it's interesting how what other people think is so engraved in us, right? And it makes us change sometimes, but sometimes it makes us change in a way that it's not us, right? And even if it's changing you into a person that would be healthier and would be better for you, that's not you, right? You, at least this person in specific, they are overweight, they are obese, they're not healthy. That's who they are, and they've been like that for years, and they know they need to change, and they got this little fire from another person. But then when that person goes away, that fire goes away too. And so from that point of view, it's super interesting, And so that's one story. The other story is just like me and this podcast, and initially me thinking that same mentality, like, oh, what are people going to think once I start a podcast and start talking about these things? And then it got to a point where I was just like, man, in 90 years, nobody's going to be here, but these conversations are still going to be here because they're going to be in YouTube and on a podcast platform. And so I don't care about what people think about me right now. I don't care if I have 1 listener or 100 listeners. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to do it because I want to do it. Right. So from that perspective, and that's what I try to teach to at least some of my clients, right? Like, just do it because you want to do it. You know what I mean? Take care of your health right now, handle your business. Don't let other people like take that fire away from you. You don't need them. Like, this is you, this is about you, right? And for me, with this podcast, this is about me, right? Whatever happens from this podcast happens, but at the end of the day, I'm here, I'm happy, I'm having a conversation with you, and that's what's important. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think that's, you put it, in a nutshell, like how it really should be. I think a lot of times we do things to please others, and I think it's fine, once in a while to want to do things for others, but essentially when you're doing something good for another person, like, it really should feel good to you, like, for you, right? Like, it should be because you're like, oh, like, even though I'm gifting this to someone, if it's something tangible, right? Like, it should feel good. You should do it because you want to, not because you feel like you have to.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good, like, a mindset to have that I think a lot of people don't possess. And I think we're very fortunate to have that, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So the next question, I wanted to ask you about your own health. Are there any obstacles that you faced with your own health, either physically or mentally, emotionally, just anything that you feel like you've had to fight through and like you've learned a lesson getting past that, and that has helped you?
I think for me, it would definitely be discipline in that physical health. I feel like I'm pretty sane mentally. I mean, sometimes I'm pretty crazy, but who isn't, right? Like, if you're not crazy, if you're not a little crazy in you, like, you're probably really crazy.
That's true, right? Nobody's seen the other side of you yet.
No, the other personality is chilling right now. No, I would say definitely for me, it would be more with, my physical health when it comes to just working out. I do have to say I'm a healthy eater. I do, try to, stay away from like fast food and things like that. Once in a while, I have my treat, but immediately right after I feel gross, so it's like, is it even worth it? Probably not. Usually when I'm hungover, but I haven't been hungover in a really long time. So I'd say, yeah, definitely, just being more consistent with, meditation. It's something that I've been working also very hard in, and just, I finally bought a yoga mat, and just, zoning out. I guess that would be something with like mental, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah. So both, just clearing the mind, that's one. Just getting in the habit of it. I work from home, 99.9% of the time. So it's actually very hard. I don't, like, for those of you who, work remotely, like, I think, and you're able to, that's amazing. It took me quite some time to get used to it. I've moved my things around a million times to to feel like, okay, I can finally focus without distractions. So yeah, meditation, one. Two, just working out more. I feel like I fluctuate. I'm really good at doing something, but then I lack on the other area. Like if I'm working out like consistently, I'm killing it. I'm probably like fucking up in school.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, no, Kat, like you can't. So then I go and I excel in school and then I fuck up in my workout. So I think the balance, which is insane, I'm a firm believer that I do have great balance, but when I speak it out into existence, I'm like, fuck, maybe I don't. So yeah, I mean, I'm pescatarian. So I think that really helps me with, making sure that I'm like eating like the good protein and, stocking up on my veggies. I love to cook. So I think that's a big plus for me. It really helps with the eating habits, but definitely working out, working my mental, like putting my mentality into like a snooze and chilling out, that I've kind of lost it ever since I started working from home, because now my home is my workspace. And before I was out in the field, like 90% of the time, and I would come home and I would de-stress, have a glass of wine and chill. And now it's like, okay, so I clocked out, but I can still see my damn laptop from across the room. And so it's like, how do I take myself out from work, to focus on me? So just little things here and there. I try to cook. Like since I love to cook, I try to do that more often, and and still start that routine, like continue it. I'm sorry, but it's been a little difficult for sure. Like just when it like more like physical health, like I'm too exhausted to go out and work out. I don't have to go out, right? Like I'm just putting excuses at this point. I'm fucking up, and I'm speaking to a personal trainer, my best friend, but I don't know. I'm just lacking off.
No, but it's true, and so the conversation that you're having with yourself is, trying to find that balance and trying to find excuses, right? But you're not different in that sense. I met so many people that their work is not related to the gym, and so then you have to find time for your health, as opposed to me, right? I work in the health and fitness industry, so it's really easy for me to work out. I'm already at a gym. I'm already talking to people about working out and eating, so it's easy for me to implement that into my life. So that's a conversation that for me it's easy to have, right? I'm working out with clients, I'm showing them what to do, so I'm already moving, doing that stuff. So what I'm saying is that it's definitely like a roller coaster ride for, let's say, the general population that has a 9-to-5 job, right? A roller coaster ride meaning that you have to find the balance of exercising and staying healthy and the discipline and all that. And it is all combined, right? Like physically working out and mentally being able to just kind of reset and get away from work so that you can create that time and space for your working out, like emotionally, like all of that is combined. It's all in one. We can't separate those things too much. They all combine themselves in the end. But I think that what's important is the self-awareness, right? And I think that you show that right now, through answering
That's
that question.
That's a very triggering question, Edwin. I didn't realize how much I had to talk about it. I was like, oh, okay. I was talking to myself for like 2 minutes.
Yes, you were. but that's okay, right? Because I think that's what helps to kind of, again, have that self-awareness to take you back to the point where, like, okay, if I haven't worked out this week, maybe I should just go out for a walk. And that's going to be good for me physically. That's going to be good for me mentally. That's going to be good for me in general, just to kind of reset that. And then after that walk, it's going to be like, oh, this is so easy for me. Why don't I just jog? And then you start thinking, okay, I did that. Why don't I just go home and get like 5 push-ups or sit-ups or squats or whatever it is, right? And you got a yoga mat now, so just kind of doing things on that, like getting some planks in. So, but little by little, just progressing through that, and and you can do that for a month, and then you get to the point where like you start thinking about school. Okay, I forgot to do my homework because I was working out, and I was really into working out, right? So I put that as my priority, and so then that now you have to go back to the balancing. So I think it's just a roller coaster ride, that you have to just try and find the balance within that roller coaster ride. And that's even more challenging right now with COVID, and specifically with people that are working from home, because I do agree that it can get overwhelming to be at home all day and to be productive with work, and then to try and be productive with your own health and your own like chores. It's challenging. I've gotten to feel that a little bit as well. Luckily, for me, it's just like for example, I just bought a pull-up bar from Amazon. And so now for me, it's just like I was missing that. I was missing just like being able to like push and pull heavier weight. I just have like a 26-pound kettlebell, so I got really comfortable with that, really easy. But now having to pull my whole body weight doing pull-ups, it changed my mentality a little bit. And I was just like, man, I miss, the pump that I get from pushing heavy weight. But even for me, just like watching a show, and then after that being like, all right, that was cool, but I've been sitting or I've been standing for the last 30 minutes. Let me just get 5 pull-ups real quick. And I go and I get 5 pull-ups, and then my heart rate is up, and like I get a pump, and I'm just like, all right, I don't want to watch another TV show. Let me do something else. It just like switches my mentality, and I again become self-aware of what I was just doing, and makes me think about what can I do differently, to be more productive, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it's great. And I think what you said about just buying, what is that called? The pull-up bar? Pull-up bar.
Yeah.
Very not savvy with like equipment names. The pull-up bar, so when I was going to get the yoga mat, when I was, went to buy it, I saw a couple other things that I could get, right? I saw like a medicine ball, and I was like, oh, like I should just get all this stuff. But then, I thought to myself, I'm like, don't bite more than you can chew. Like, why don't you start off small, right? Because then I'm going to be left with all these things. And then it's like, where am I going to start? So it's like, and I think this is something that is, it's something like a food for thought for everyone. I think oftentimes we have all these goals and we want to accomplish all of them. But, statistically speaking, like if you start with just one, you're more likely to complete that goal versus if you start with 5, because you overwhelm yourself. You probably start all of them and never finish any of them. Yeah. So definitely starting small, and once you get to that one, well, then start with the next one. And I think that's always something, I'm always conscious about things, like the same thing with like, I know that if I go on a walk, I'm going to feel better. I know if I have that smoothie instead of the burger, I'm going to feel a lot better. But, sometimes the way the mind works, it's like, I want the pleasure of like 5 minutes instead of like the 30 to an hour pleasure, which is bogus, but that's just how the mental, like how we work as people, so it's just, getting into my routine and, I'm going to start just meditating. Like that's something that I need to do. Like just expand my yoga mat, go outside. So I'm not, in my office space.
Yeah.
And just meditate for 10 minutes and, and meditating can do so much. So
yeah, I agree.
Definitely something I need to work on.
Definitely. I do too. I don't meditate as much as I used to, but I still do it. So one important question here that I have for you is, what are your thoughts on video games and its effect on kids?
Okay. Well, because, I do work with kids and right now that they're all doing distance learning, I feel like it's like a perfect example to kind of talk about that, because it's very interesting, right? I feel like we've all derived from video games. We've all liked video games growing up. I used to be like a video game player. I had back in the day, Nintendo 64,
yes,
PlayStation, little Game Boys, things like that. but I feel like it's just so much more popular now and more accessible. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But my kids, all of them, absolutely, maybe just one of them out of all 10 I have are into video games. And that's what they do when they're not in session or when they're not in school. You know, and like, especially with the whole distance learning thing, that's like the only option really, right? Like I say that in quotes because you can still do things like you still go outside and play. Like I used to with my family when we all lived very close to each other when we were little. We used to just play tag, basketball, soccer, you know, ride the scooters. I know, like I said, it's a little bit different now, especially with the pandemic, but it's not impossible. And I feel like video games are just right now skyrocketing. The new PS5 dropped, right? And I know this because of my kids. They keep me young. But I mean, it's just much more likely to be obsessed over when there's nothing else. Like, where are the companies producing things for kids to do other than video games, you know, but they know that that's where the market is and the demand. So I think a little bit of everything is okay. I'm a firm believer. I'm not anti video games at all. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just, you know, we need to find alternatives, right? Like just to other ways to keep the mind occupied rather than just sitting and, you know, being engaged in a video game. It can't be healthy to just sit down and do that. And then you're eating, right? Like it's so easy to eat while you're playing or watching a game, watching TV. So it just, you know, a lot of my kids have put up weight for sure.
Okay.
Have gained weight. Yeah. So I've seen that too. And, you know, I'm able to speak to their primary care physician. So, you know, when I'm writing the report, you know, I consult with them and then they'll tell me like, oh, you know, he has gained this much weight since his last visit. And it's probably a lot of factors, right? Like sitting down on a desk, eating from there, not getting up. Like before they had recess and now it's like, oh, well, you're just probably going to play a video game now. So yeah, not anti-video games. I just feel like the mind should also be occupied in other things.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Obviously, from my perspective of helping people with their health and fitness, I do think that being able to have some playtime is important for kids, right? As you're a teen and as you grow older, it gets a little bit harder because it's not planned for you. You have to plan it for yourself, right? But I think it's definitely part of life. And right now with COVID, it's made it harder to go out and play with your friends, right? Because your friends could have the virus and then you bring it back home to your family and now your grandma's in the hospital. So it can escalate real quick, right? From you just wanting to go out and have fun with your friends and go to the park, you know, and all that. So right now it's definitely a hard time. That's where, you know, like coming or having something at home, some kind of instruction at home. And it's helpful.
I think definitely. I think, you know, I want to add something to that. I think that's when parenting skills come into play, you know, like you can be creative. And, you know, I want to shout out my sister, Yvette, you know, she's a great mother and, you know, she will be so creative. She's so creative. Like she'll bring cupcakes home and like, you know, sprinkles. She had Roxy, my niece, my only niece, create her own calendar for the month, you know, just even though she wrote nothing on every single day because she doesn't have anything to do. But, you know, I think that was like a good 20, 25 minutes, you know, taken from tablet time, because that's also, you know, what other kids are doing right now. Like electronics are, you know, what all they know. Yeah. So I think that's when parenting skills really, really show. You know, you don't have to hang out with your friends, obviously, because, you know, COVID, but you can be a creative parent. Make them read a book. You know, you're the boss. The parents are the boss. Like, you know, be like, okay, if you want to be on your tablet for like an hour, you have to read, you know, you have to read for 30 minutes. Like, it's fine, you know, like just little by little, step by step. But honestly, like, you know, shout out to those parents who really get creative to ensure that their kids are, developing their mind, their mentality elsewhere, rather than just having them use a computer or laptop or video games. Like, that's admirable.
Yeah, like something that I heard from my godson Eddie, he's 7. He actually said that he was bored from being on his phone. Which is something that you would never hear before. They would ask for the phone. They would get mad when you take it away. But now it's just like they've been on it for months. It's gotten to the point where
they're satiated.
Yeah, they want to go out, right? They want to do something else. So I think, that itch is coming to them because it's just natural, right? It's natural for people to be active and to do things outside, and technology is something foreign for the body, right? So you do get bored of it after a while, just like watching a movie. Like if you spend all day watching movies, you'll get to a point where you're just like, okay, I had enough of this, right? I gotta do something else. So I think that is important. Just one thing with video games, and I think that it is something that the developers have been taking advantage of, and I think it's in a good way. It's the social component of it, the community component of it. For example, Fortnite, right? Like they've been able to create a mode where you're not shooting anybody, you're not fighting anybody. It's a party mode, and they have concerts there, and like you go and they have dance moves, and you're just
I watched the Travis Scott one with my client.
Exactly. So
this is fun.
So they're making it a little bit more interactive, and and you're together with your friends and you're talking. So I do like that component of it, that they're creating a little bit of a social component, so then you're not alone in a sense. Even though you are alone at home with the video game, you're just still talking to your friends, and so I do like that. But I do think, obviously, physically, we need that, and I think kids need recess and lunch to go out and play, and so hopefully they're able to do that soon, and go back out there and get physical again, because that's huge for their health, mentally and physically.
Definitely.
All right. So I got 3 last little questions here for you. The first one is, what is one of your favorite books, and why?
Oh, that's a good one. And that actually brings me back, to, I haven't read a book in a long time. Shame on me for sure. I was reading books avidly for a really long time. And I'm going to say that one of my favorite ones would be The Diary of Anne Frank.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, but it is one of my favorites. For some reason, I'm very inclined to like sad stories and like when I'm reading a book, because I feel like I can really feel it, like I can really put myself in that situation. And this book in particular, it's about a young girl, during the Holocaust, and she was hiding for years before she was actually found and killed in a concentration camp. And it's just very, very sad. And, I just can't believe that this actually happened. And I love reading nonfiction. I love reading books that, that put me in a situation where this could have been me or, someone that I know. So I have to say that that's one of my favorite novels.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think it is important to look back at history and see what people have gone through to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself, right? And I think we are getting a perfect example of history right now. So I do think it's important to read those stories of people that have struggled and have died, and we need to learn from those experiences, right? Okay. So another question for you is, what are you currently obsessed with?
Currently obsessed? That's a great question too. With my plants. I am propagating all the time. Every time I see like a root coming, I'm like, I'm rooting for you. Let's go.
Okay.
Find like a new, I need more pots.
Yeah.
I'm running out of them. So yeah, that's definitely my current obsession. I actually have 3 homeless plants. I don't know where to put them.
Okay.
They're thriving for sure. I got Mama Plant. I'm staring at her right now. She's beautiful. But yeah, I think that's my current obsession right now because I'm home all the time and
Yeah.
I want to make, because I'm trying to, make my home into, I have like different rooms set up to kind of, once I'm done with work, like I don't even want to look towards that section of my house. But yeah, I do that, every other day where I, when I wake up, I have my routine. I make my coffee and I start bringing my plants together. I start changing their water. I like touch them. I talk to them. I'm psychotic for sure. But my music. So yeah, my current obsession are my plants. I love my plants. They're so wonderful.
No, I think that a lot of people have picked up gardening and plants at home, succulents and all that stuff in the past year because we have been spending a lot more time at home. So I think seeing some more green at home is something that's nice, and something that makes you just, I don't know, appreciate your day a little bit more. It's just like, something to worry about, like, oh, my plants, they have water and all that.
Right. And it's living things. So, and I know that talking to them and like paying attention to them, and that actually makes me go outside because I'll take them outside sometimes for a little bit and I'll chill with my plants.
Yeah.
That's like living alone problems right there. Just my dog and my plants. But yeah, I'm obsessed. I actually, thing that I've been thinking of doing is buying like the pots, like just the brown ones, and buying like paint and decorating my own pots.
Oh, okay.
So that's something I've been looking forward to. And because I said it, I have to do it. I would have not, if I wouldn't have said it, I would probably like just been like, but because I've said it and people are going to watch this, I'm going to do it.
Now we need proof.
I will definitely show proof. You'll see my Instagram popping for sure.
All right. So the last question for you, what is your favorite food?
Oh, okay. These are great questions. Do I have a favorite food? I don't know, Edwin. I mean, I love to cook, you know that, and I said this already in the podcast. I can't think of a favorite food. I think I have like a favorite plate from different places. I mean, I could eat pupusas every day. I don't know because I'm Salvi. I don't know. Shout out to my Salvadoran peeps. Anything like if I'm hungover, I can eat a pupusa. If I am hungry, I can eat a pupusa. If I am craving something, I can eat a pupusa. Maybe it's pupusas. I don't know.
I would say cilantro.
Oh yeah, you know that. I don't think anyone, like people don't really know this, but Edwin and I lived together for a couple months.
Yeah. I was bouncing around for a little bit and you hooked it up there. So shout out to that because it was necessary for me for sure. But
for sure. I think that's an interesting fact that people don't know.
That's true. Yeah, that should have been your start.
I didn't think about that.
That's where I found out.
I wasn't thinking about you. I was always thinking about me.
I know. That's how it goes. but that's how I found out that you put cilantro on everything, on the walls even. You got them framed. Leaves are framed around their house.
I actually have cilantro all the time. I always buy it. I put it in my poke bowl last night. I love cilantro. Yeah, that's another interesting fact.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, this has been a great conversation, Kat. I really appreciate your time and all the stories and knowledge that you've shared. The last thing that I want is to give you the platform. Just share anything, any advice, any guidance, anything that motivates you, anything that you want to share. And then after that, just share your socials so that if anybody's interested in reaching out and asking about ABA or traveling, they can reach out to you.
For sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm very fortunate to have such a smart, successful person, right before my eyes, such as you. So yeah, just for everyone watching, If you're cool enough, you'll probably be in Edwin's podcast. If not, that sucks for you. But for sure, check me out on Instagram if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer. Invite me again, Edwin. This has been a pleasure. I love this. My Instagram is yes it's Kitty, but 0 instead of the O. So yes it's Kitty.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll put that down in the description as well, so people can just click on that and link to it. But
for sure. And follow your dreams. Like it's okay to have more than one. I think that's something that always sticks up to me. Like when people ask me, what do you want to do? It's like, well, I want to do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Do them. And, say them in private, speak them to yourself, and then they'll come true.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. That's what we're trying to do here. That's me with this podcast right now. So it's, I'm trying to lead by example.
There you go. All right. Awesome.
All right.
I love you, Edwin. It's always great talking to you.
Yes, Kat. Love you too. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there.
Sure.
All right. Peace.
More love, less destruction.
That's right. I agree.